Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to practice. I hope that everyone is doing well today. I know that I woke up this morning to a torrent of different um, opinions and thoughts online about the publicly released private discussion about Roe v. Wade. And I feel like, of course, on the one hand, the news might have the appearance of being distressing because if one believes that one is governed by the federal court system, it would it would cause distress. I don't actually feel that I am governed by that court system in any way that actually matters. And I know that throughout history, women have, since time immemorial, found their own ways of controlling childbirth and of controlling pregnancy. So even though this at its outset might seem very distressing, I think we have to remember a few things. One, it's not the final decision yet. Two, if it is the final decision, one can decide whether or not she is going to participate in that or if she's going to not. And three, California, where I live, has already basically decided that it is going to be a sanctuary state for women seeking refuge um, from states where they would not have reproductive control. And there's already momentum toward getting funds together for women to be able to come here for adequate female health care. So I think for the priestess, our role right now is to definitely take a wait and see what happens approach, whilst also preparing whatever we need to prepare, whether that means stockpiling morning after pills that you can make available to people, or whether that means contributing to a fund that would allow for a woman to travel, or whether that means educating yourself in methods of herbal birth control, etc. So even though I know this is probably all really upsetting, I do think that for our purposes, really, it can only, whatever happens here, we should always be aware that humanity for thousands of years is wildly ungovernable. And we're actually much more free than we think we are. So let's do ourselves a favor and not get too wrapped up in the idea that any government actually has ultimate control over us. That, to me, the belief that a government has control over us is the greater threat, the greatest threat. So that's my hot take. Um, Oshun rules over female sovereignty, and there are many stories of Oshun, despite convention, despite people's opinions of her, despite any number of different obstacles or factors. There are many stories of Oshun doing whatever she wants. And I think that, we can take from her determination and from her power in her determination, a kind of inspiration for these difficult times. So let's take our refuge in Oshun today with her prayer. I bow to Oshun. There is nowhere that it is not known that Oshun is as mighty as a king. She dances and takes the crown. She dances without asking. She arrives and trouble is appeased. She shakes her bracelets to come to the dance. She dances in the depths of richness. The water sounds like the bracelets of Oshun. We call to her, and she answers with wisdom. She can heal what the doctor can't. The Orisha, who heals with cold water. we can stay in the world without fear. And we are working this month with the fantastic, recently released Abiola Abrams' African Goddess Rising Oracle, which depicts Oshun on the cover of the oracle. I had a really interesting manifestation yesterday of our divination of Mamlambo, um, facing things, that might be uncomfortable, facing difficult things, topics that are challenging, and looking at self-sabotage. I had a couple of meetings yesterday, and one of the meetings that I had brought up this topic, and it was so timely, and I was able to reference the card in the discussion. It was really, really powerful. So, and Priestess Cosette mentioned that she also got that card on the first day of um, her month of Oshun. So, working with this deck. So, I thought that was also really powerful. Today, we are calling upon Mawu Lisa, and the keyword for Mawu Lisa is cosmic power. And you see it depicts the sacred twins of creation here. So let's have a read. So, originating in Benin, Mawu Lisa is the force of Mother, Father, Goddess. Mawu is the moon. Lisa is the sun. Mawu is female. Lisa is male. They came together during a fawn eclipse to create cosmic power. Their guidance: you are now in the right place. Release the fear of your power. You are sacred. You are magic. Now that you know this, you can no longer pretend not to. Rise up into your magnificence. Love and accept yourself fully to unlock everything you seek. Stop pretending to be less than you are. Your real power has nothing to do with external gains. Cosmic power cannot be destroyed or lost. You were created by the same force that birthed the sun and the moon. And our affirmation for today: my power shines forth from within. I think that is a fantastic divination for today. As it's really interesting to me whenever any type of legal entity decides that they're going to govern women in some way by telling us what to do with our bodies, particularly. It's like that's when women wake up for a hot second and remember that we have power. But then what about all the other times when women are silently suffering under the delusion that someone else has power over them? But it's a delusion that they themselves have bought into, whether it's the belief that your partner or your children or your job or your reputation, your neighborhood, your, whatever activities you belong to. Much of the time in our patriarchal culture, women are kind of walking around submitting to these different layers of social control. And we don't necessarily always recognize that that's what we're doing because we've been so conditioned to do it, to give more than we have, to um, let someone else rattle on and on about nonsense at us when we have better things to do. There's like 1,000 ways that we regularly give up our sovereignty. But then when the government says something, oh, now we're strong, now we're mad. I actually think women should be more mad like all the time, honestly, considering the society we live in, and should be in very clear understanding and awareness of our fundamental sovereignty so that we don't get bowled over by the expectations of partners, of our children, of society, of our bosses or whoever else. So let's keep in mind that this anger, this sovereign anger that we're feeling right now, is that we may be feeling right now as the result of this preliminary discussion about Roe v. Wade, would actually be far better placed in our day-to-day lives, because the courts wouldn't actually believe that they have control over us if we didn't on a regular basis submit to social control. And I am, guilty of it too, even though I have worked very hard in my life to eradicate that feeling of anyone having that kind of control over me, or that sense that I report to anyone else's ideas or opinions about who I should be or what I should do. I've worked really hard to not submit to those things, and yet I still experience it. So I'm not saying it's easy. It's hard. But let's not just like save our rage for these moments. In fact, our rage in these moments is at best a temporary catalyst for some feelings. But ultimately, if we were to transform our momentary rage, into a more kind of quiet, sustained willfulness that would not ever allow ourselves to be governed by someone else's projections, we would live in a more equitable society. Sort of a difficult opinion to hold, because it's much easier to continue down the road of thinking of this like power triangle, where we are the oppressed, we are the victims. But I think it's much more difficult, but more sustainable, ultimately, to understand that we are the cosmic power and nothing happens without us. And so we don't actually have to submit to anyone or anything that isn't right or good for us. So that's my short bit for the day. Cosmic power is within us, not just in moments of anger at societal disparity. It's actually in us to willfully resist those disparities as they happen at much more day to day and habitual levels. Now let's dive into practice with the Sovereign One. We're going to do our prostrations and get into it. And let's take refuge. Namo Guru Be. I take refuge in the inner teacher. Namo Buddhaye. I take refuge in the great mother of compassion. Namo Dharmaye. I take refuge in the wisdom of the ages. Namo Sanghaye. I take refuge in the community of practitioners. And let's set our intention, a person, place, situation, or circumstance that will benefit from today's practice. Today we're holding Alfie, who has had a big brush with cancer and a surgery that was quite invasive and extensive, but is now recovering safely. We're holding a sister who had a miscarriage and is recovering. And we're holding a brother, Brian, who um, had a really, really bad burn, as well as anyone else who is in need of some extra energy today. And let's recite the four immeasurables. May I be a source of loving kindness in this world and all worlds, bringing a generous heart to all my thoughts and doings. May I be a vehicle of compassion in this world and all worlds, ever mindful and aware of the tremendous suffering of others. May I be a brimming vessel of joy in this world and all worlds, delighting in the happiness of others as their suffering is alleviated. May I be a balance point of equanimity in this world and all worlds, seeing all as equals and all as deserving of goodness. I light this candle as a symbol of the enlightening Dharma way. May it shine brightly for the benefit of all beings. I light this incense as an offering for Guan Yin, she who hears the cries of the world, mother of all. I just need a little more water. Omahum. 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 Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offering, actual and virtual. I confess all my destructive actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the meditation of all holy and ordinary beings. Please, Guan Yin, remain until the end of samsaric existence, and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of others to the great enlightenment. 108 recitations of Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, calling upon the one who is always sovereign and whose great sovereignty is also the cause for great compassion for all of the travails of humanity. Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, 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 Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa. Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, 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 Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa. Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, 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 Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa. Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, 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 Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa. Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, 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 Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa. Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, 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 Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa. Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, 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 Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa. Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, 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 Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa. Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, 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 Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa. Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa. Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, Namo Guanxi Yin Pusa, Namo Guanxin Pusa. 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 And our prayer to Yeshua Tzagil. Ying Chutaki Somo Karchanza, Dusum Kunchempe Majunyeki, Sangso Dupo Dechen So Gelmar, So Wadeb So Chuktun Nudrup So, Mother of Space, foremost of Dakinis, Lady Karchanza, gatherer of the vast secret treasury of Padmakara, knower of all, past, present, and future. Mother Tsogil, great bliss queen, to you we pray, grant us cities, ordinary and supreme. Ying Shuktaki Somo Karchanza, Dusum Kunjempe Majungeki, Sanso Dupo Dechen So Gyalmar, So Wadeb So Tuktun, Nudrup So. And 108 recitations of Om Mani Padme Hum, sending out our loving energies to Alfie, to Brian, to our sister who had her miscarriage, and to all who need it. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Padme Hum. Om Mani 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 Padme Hum. And let's give thanks for our teachers, especially those ungovernable ones. May all of my blessed teachers enjoy long, happy, healthy, productive lives and great support for their good works. May all beings benefit from their wisdom. May they enjoy a swift and happy rebirth. and long life prayer for Lama Dechen Yeshe Wangmo. Om Sosti. Through the powerful blessings of the immortal Pema Jungye and his consort, may the three secret qualities of the Dakini of supreme bliss, Yeshe Wangmo, be utterly stable, and may the light of her activities shine on the lotus groves of the teachings and of beings, so that they blossom in radiant splendor. And let's dedicate the merit. May the merit of this practice and all of my activities be of endless benefit to all beings in all realms, beginningless and continuous. May all obstacles be overcome and suffering cease at the sound of liberation. May all beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all beings have happiness and its causes. May we carry the essence of Guanyin in our hearts. Namo Guanxin Pusa. And we close with a bow to Guanyin, bow to one another, and bow to the inner teacher. And go on out there today and resist being governed in the small ways. And that will add up to change on the large scale.